Hello, hello, hello. It's Tiffany Bell. I am your host. And I just want to welcome you all to another episode of the CEO Corner. And what's the CEO Corner, you ask? Well, basically, I am able to bring women on who are not only the CEO of their business, but they are CEOs of their life. They are ruling and reigning. And I have thoroughly enjoyed being able to bring just a host of women to you all so far. And so tonight's guest, you guys are going to love her. But before we bring her on stage, just want to remind you all that we have our affirmations journal on sale now. One of the guests that's coming on here in a little bit, I'm going to let you know how you can buy directly from her. But for now, if you'd like a copy of the journal, feel free to go to uncommoncourage.cc/affirm women. One more time, uncommoncourage.cc/affirm women. Now, just so you can have a visual, this is a copy of the book, and basically it is 39 women from all over America, as well as Canada, that have come together to create this. It's 76 days worth of powerful affirmation, scripture, business tips, power statements that can really help you focus, that can help you move from point A to point B. I am a journaler. I have journaled almost weekly, definitely at times daily, sometimes multiple times a day for the past almost 20 years. I started journaling when I first moved here to Mississippi, had gotten married. I was 24, I think, 24, 25. Thought I knew a little something. I didn't really know anything. And so my journal really became my safe place. And so the affirmations for a woman on the move, that journal really is designed for women that that want to be able to not only journal, but really it's really about reshaping their minds, reshaping their thoughts, reshaping their hearts, becoming the CEO of their lives. You know, they have a mission and they want to stay on mission. They want to make sure they're moving forward in a very specific direction. So if that's you, then you definitely want to be able to pick up a copy of the book. So affirm women, right? Okay, uncommoncourage.cc/affirm women. Again, uncommoncourage.cc/affirm women. Now it's time for me to introduce our guest. All righty, so I am very excited to be able to introduce you all to our guest. Her name is Erica D. Fulton. And if I'm not mistaken, I think she's Erica Denise Fulton, because that's my middle name. So, she's a real treat. So, Erica, all right, her purpose is to assist women in achieving their goals and pressing through trauma, transitions, and other life challenges by providing them with the tools to challenge their thinking and become unstuck from grief. I mean, just listening to that, Erica, I'm like, I can see exactly why you decided to be a part of the affirmation journal. Like, it's very, very fitting, very, very, very fitting. And so again, welcome to the stage, Erica. So excited to have you here. So
Thank you. I'm excited.
oh, you're quite welcome. You're very welcome, Erica. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So, I've talked a little bit about your professional side, but I always like for our audience to be able to kind of relate to our CEOs on a personal side. So tell us a little bit about Erica when she's not working to make a difference in people's lives.
When she's not working, I love to dance. I
Oh,
love
really?
to I am a dancer. I just love line dancing.
Mm-hmm,
I love singing karaoke,
mm-hmm,
especially Aretha Franklin, some of her
mm-hmm,
songs.
mm-hmm.
Oh, and Etta James at last. I love singing those. I love spending time with my godchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So that is so amazing. I like getting my fire stick out, getting some hot cocoa, and watching one of my favorite movies, Dirty Dancing. Yes, I really love that movie. I was actually 10 when it came out. So I just kind of grew up with the movie.
Uh-huh.
I purchased it not too long ago. And I love watching Touched by an Angel.
Touch
It,
Find
it's,
Angel. I do remember that as a kid.
yeah, it's one of my coping skills. A
Okay.
way for
Okay.
me to de stress and detox and I love to laugh, and I try to be very intentional with my laughter because laughter is it's good for the soul.
Hmm. It is. There's a couple of books out there, if I'm not mistaken, that say something along those lines. So again, Erica, welcome. I did not realize that you enjoyed dancing and music, which is I think is cool. I have just a little bit of rhythm. I can clap on beat, but trying to get my feet and my hands to move together at the same time is not always successful.
Oh yes, I hear the music. I going, oh wait a minute, that's my song. I just so excited.
Okay, so you are if I'm not mistaken, I believe you're a grief and trauma specialist, right? So
Therapist.
tell therapist. Okay, so tell us how did you get into that line of work? What drew you to be
What
able to connect with people on that level?
part of what drew me is part of my own grief journey,
Okay,
part of just walking that road of grief, especially as an African American woman,
okay,
because within the African American community, traditionally therapy wasn't something that was encouraged. In my family, we didn't. Nobody in my family went to therapy. My immediate family. When I say nobody, I
hmm,
was the first person to seek out therapy, and initially it was because to do counseling practice, you had to do practicums. You had to do your own personal therapy, and even way before that, a lot of people don't know I'm a widow, and I was widowed very young.
okay,
So at
okay.
the age of 29, I'm thrown into a world that I used to say, God, I didn't ask to join this club. This was not, I didn't sign up for this. I signed up for a lot of stuff, but this wasn't it. I was
Ah,
at a bone to pick with God. I was
mhm,
mad. I really was mad. I can
mhm,
laugh now, but going through that season of my life, it built compassion and empathy
mhm,
for those who had to walk the road, and especially women of color, because
mhm.
again, we we were not encouraged, hey, go therapy, to do therapy, because people have these preconceived notions about therapy and about people who go to therapy. And we say, oh, Uncle Joe is crazy. And we don't really educate our community that therapy is self-care, it's self-love, but it has been so distorted. And so
Yes.
that's part of the passion that drives me, because I believe it's my calling.
Yes, yes, yes. I think so. I think I laugh at you. So I have so the book that there's a book sitting here to my right. It's called Leading with Uncommon Courage, and so it's an anthology that I produced last year. No, actually 2020. Yeah, in 2020. And so it's me and 29 other ladies, and we're all sharing various stories. But in that book, it was the first time I'd ever written about my loss. I lost my husband not at 29. I think I don't remember. I was 33, 34, something along those lines. And I said the exact same thing. That's why I was tickled a moment ago when you said that. I was like, yes, ma'am, I totally understand. I remember very clearly February 8th, 2007. I remember waking up that morning feeling extremely heavy, just feeling, very stressed. And he woke me up and he's like, "Hey, Tiff, time to get up. Need you to hurry up, get ready. You know what? You're oversleep. You're going to be late." I did my thing, hopped in the car, left to head to the hospital, and all day long, I just had this thing inside of me telling me, "Oh, you need to get the Ken. You need to go and you just need to get the Ken." And I called him repeatedly that day. But I was never able to actually, have a conversation with him. Finally, 2 o'clock, I couldn't take it anymore. And I went to my boss. I was like, "I need to leave. Can I leave early?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, Tiff, no big deal." And he was like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I don't know. I just need to find my husband." And I got in my car, drove over 1 block, pulled over, and tried calling his phone again. But remember, I mentioned at this point, I'd called several times and it just went to
Yeah.
voicemail. But this time, someone answered, and it was a nurse. He was at the another hospital, and she didn't see. I was shocked, first of all, that it was a woman that answered the telephone. And I remember, she answered the phone. I'm, driving or sitting on the side of the road, and when I heard her voice, went back just to look and make sure I called the right number. And I was like, nope, that's his phone number. And I was like, hey, my name's Tiffany. I'm trying to get in touch with, my husband, Kenneth Bell. And she didn't answer me. In fact, she didn't address me at all. But what I could hear her say was, doctor, it's his wife. Now, when I was at work, I worked at a hospital. I used to do angiography for a local medical center here. And so in my mind, I could see her sitting inside, an emergency booth. The little room with the curtain pulled. And I could see her turning around
Mm-hmm.
so that he doesn't, have to touch anything with his hands. And so, at that point, he explained to me, that I need to grab my boys and we needed to come and say goodbye. And I remember being shocked. And I was like, is he all right? And it took him a minute to even respond and say, no, I apologize, but your husband has passed. I say all of that, as soon as I hung the telephone, I said the same thing. I said, I did not sign up for this.
Yeah.
Not at all. And I was angry. Now I got to say, I wasn't angry for an extensive amount of time, but, for that little while there on the side of the road, I was angry. I was like, okay, I gave up my family. I moved 700 miles to live in Mississippi, and now, the one family member that I have, he is gone, and and I still have two boys. This is not the plan. You did not promise me this,
Yeah.
And so I get it. I totally get it. But what I also realized in that moment, I was like, okay, so if you knew this, then that makes you responsible to make sure that me and my boys are okay. And so, I fixed my attitude. I told him how I felt, honestly, but I fixed my attitude, and then, he did exactly what he does. He not only stands up for his promises behind his word, mind you, but
Yes.
he overlooked my stress and my grief. And so I imagine that you bring a lot of health and healing to people that are in those same stages, by helping them to process their grief. And so very grateful for the work that you do. And I'm sure that you get lots of good feedback, people that have had an opportunity to cross your path. So I'm curious. I would love to kind of hear some of the stories that you've experienced in helping people, especially once they've passed to the other side. They've gotten through the trauma. Do you find that are they checking back in with you? I would love to kind of hear just a little bit about that side of things.
Oh yeah, and I always love it because I currently I'm even working with a client, and so I was looking
Mhm,
at a testimonial she put up,
mhm, mhm,
and I was so humble because she said Erica has really, just helped me to challenge my thoughts and the way I look at life.
mhm,
And she said I highly recommend her. And I
mhm,
am so humbled at that. And then I remember there's another email. I had worked with a teenager. This was a young boy, and
mhm,
just having some image issues. And so the mom sent me an email saying so and so is doing so well. You did an amazing job. And mind you, in the middle of me working with him, I'm still grieving the death of my mother. And it was still early on in my grief. So
mhm,
I say that to say I know that was the grace of God. Because when I look back, I say, I have no idea how, except God gave me the literal breathe life into me so that He could use me to breathe life back into this young man. And I'm so very humble. I remember working at a level 1 trauma hospital as a chaplain resident,
okay.
and just assisting families when it was end of life, when they would come through the ER and a loved one died. They call it DOA, dead on arrival.
Mhm,
I remember just sitting with one particular family, and I actually went and I visited them maybe later on, and they recognized me, and they
mhm,
were very grateful.
mhm.
And one particular one sticks out in my mind. I'll never forget. It was a newborn, and
As a newborn.
unfortunately, the newborn had to be taken off life support.
Okay.
And the family, I just held the space for them to be able to express, whatever emotion they needed to express, because that was a really difficult moment for them. And again, my empathy comes from, being a widow, having to bury my grandmother, having to bury my mother. I mean, grief is messy. It's messy, and you have to be very patient and know how to walk with people and go at their pace, not the pace you think they're supposed to be going at, but
Right, right. So, Erica, how do you, for people, how do you, grief comes in waves, right? You
yeah,
never know when it's
no,
going to show up, right? You have no clue of what trigger you may walk into, and sometimes there's just not a trigger, like it just shows up. How do you help? How do you help your clients deal with the triggers, and even just deal with those moments of just not just again dealing with the waves? How do you counsel them in regard to dealing with the waves of emotion?
well, one of the things I always do is make sure that there's some form of a coping skill that we do in session, such as breathing, guided imagery, and then I
Mhm.
normalize the emotion. I'm very big on normalizing. I'm very big on validating, because many times, and it's been my own personal experience at times, that people don't always mean to say invalidating things. It's not this, oh, I just want to be mean. It's just sometimes people don't know what to say, or they may feel like they have to say something.
Mhm.
And it's just being present with a person, and
Mhm.
just giving them that space to be a human being.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's one of the things I do. I sometimes facilitate storytelling and say, hey, tell me about the individual, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because nobody is perfect.
True that. True that. How do you you mentioned guided visualization. Tell me a little bit
Uh,
about that. What is that, and how
Imagery.
does it work?
What I will often do is tell them close their eyes, take in some deep breaths, and I'll say, "What's a calm image for you? What maybe was your favorite place when you were a child? Maybe you have a favorite childhood memory. Uh, for some people, the beach is very calming. For some people, purple elephants may be calming. And if that's your calm image, we work with it. And I tell them, okay, breathe in, breathe out, visualize that image. And
Mhm.
so the breathing and the visualization, it's almost like a reset to the nervous system.
Mhm.
And I do that with my trauma clients as well. Uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
One of the things I do tell my clients is, when you're dealing with grief or trauma, you know, that self awareness, knowing, okay, next month is the anniversary of X, Y, and Z. And just that awareness of even knowing, okay, hey, I know this is coming up. So, what do I need to do in terms of maybe lightening my workload? Maybe reaching out to a church member or a family member, hey, you know, can you maybe watch my kids for a day or for a couple of hours? And we sit down and say, hey, let's do a self-care plan. Let's That day you're gonna have your bubble bath and your favorite TV shows. Maybe you had a favorite TV show when you were a kid. I help them know it's okay to be kind and gentle, and that it's okay to use the N word. No.
I like that.
Which
Yeah. No.
no.
Hmm.
And no doesn't need an explanation. No. Can you? No. But I really, no. You call yourself a Christian? Yes, I am. And the answer is still no.
Another question for you. Um, wow, that question it just exited. It just went in what came in my mind and left just that quickly. Um, Man, I hate that I can't remember it. But let me ask you this: what I would love to talk, just because the conversation is, we only have a little bit more time left. I want to make sure that you talk about your affirmation that you put
Yeah.
in the book. And so, how about this? I'd love for you to just kind of talk around it for me. I want you to just speak directly to the heart of the young lady that you feel would need to hear your affirmation. And then, of course, share a little bit about, how the affirmation itself, has had an effect on your life. And then, also, I know that there are lots of women out there who are, experiencing grief just because. I mean, we can't pretend as if COVID is not a thing. Things are lightening up a little bit, but I saw a stat today saying like 6 million people have died from COVID. So there's a lot of people that are grieving. So I would love for you to kind of take a moment out and just speak directly to the hearts of people in our audience that would need to hear your words.
Okay, well, one of the things I want to just start off with is that what you're feeling, what you're going through, what you may be even experiencing in the moment is completely normal. We don't always choose our pain, but what I want to let you know is that you are a victor. You are not a victim, you are a victor. And the one thing you can choose is your response. It is in you. You are capable. I don't know what you're facing or going through, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that it's not hard and it's not messy and it's not painful and it does not hurt. Because I have been in those dark places. I have been in those places when I couldn't call on mama or daddy or no one else. And I found that inner strength to say, you know what? I couldn't choose that trauma I went through, but I can choose my response. And so I want to empower you and let you know that you can and you have the capacity to rise above whatever difficulty, transition, or challenge that life has thrown at you. I also want to let you know we're not responsible for our traumas. Why? We can't control the actions of other people. But I want to tell you because I believe in you, you do have a responsibility for your healing. And so I just want to let you know be encouraged, be empowered, because you have what it takes to walk your path of healing. And it's your unique path. It's not going to look like the next person's. It is unique to who you are as an individual and who you were created to be. You are not a victim, you're a victor. And so I leave with just these two words: be encouraged, my sister. Be encouraged because your best days, they are not behind you. You have the ability. Because again, you're not responsible for your trauma. You are not responsible for that childhood trauma. But you can choose now to engage in your healing. So I want to just say be encouraged. You may be heartbroken right now. And you know what? It is okay to feel what you feel. It is okay. It is there was a quote I would always use, and it says, it's normal to grieve. It is normal. It is healthy, and just know that you're not walking that path by yourself. You're beautiful. You're worthy, and because you are beautiful and worthy, my hope, my prayer, my desire is that you would walk not just in the healing, but in the wholeness that you were created to walk in. I speak life to you, my sister. I speak life. I'm excited for you. And that's my heart. That is my heart for you. Be encouraged, my beautiful sister.
Love it, love it, love it, Erica. So tell our audience how if there's someone out there that would like to work with you, I would love for you to, just talk a little bit about how they can connect with you. Again, very specific as far as the services that you
Mm.
offer, and then and just kind of go from there if you would.
Okay. Well, I offer trauma, grief counseling, grief therapy. In addition to that, I'm also a clinical certified services provider for ADHD. So I work with the ADHD community and work with those who have ADHD, and they're also grieving, which can be a very unique, I don't want to use the word situation, but a unique way of how they process and deal with grief. So I do that as well. Um,
I'm going to pause for a moment, just to make sure I understood you. So you're saying that you specialize in helping people who are ADD or ADHD that have that diagnosis, that they grieve a little. The way that they grieve, the way they process may be a little different. And so you
yes,
specialize in. Oh, wow, I wasn't aware of that.
it the brain, and I'll make a long story
Oh
short.
no, you're fine. I am leaning in. I would like to hear.
But if you even like, if you looked at a out of X-ray, basically a ADHD brain and a non-ADHD brain,
Mm-hmm.
and they are very very different in how they process things and how information is taken in. And now that's just the physiology of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, in working with that community, I work with children who
Mm-hmm.
had ADHD. And so, you learn some things by trial and error. And you
Okay.
say, okay, I know, nah, that's not gonna work. We may need to tweak it a little bit. So, and I've undergone the training, so I do that as well, and I work with anxiety disorders because I underwent a training in that specific area, and I may use two modalities. I may use cognitive processing therapy, or I may use dialectical behavior therapy, or I may use elements of each because I'm also a certified dialectical behavior therapist.
Okay,
So,
define that. Put the dialectical behavior. Say that in layman's
dialectical,
terms for our
okay,
audience.
okay, dialectical behavior therapy is almost saying you have these two opposites. And so rather than them being pitted against one another, it's you balance both of them out. And I'll give maybe a example. For example, someone loses their job or they get laid off, and we say,
Okay.
okay, I get it. You're mad, probably going through some grieving because that is a loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that right now in this moment, it's like, okay, I have to accept that I've been laid off. I don't have to like it. And I always tell them, you don't have to like it. So I can still feel angry. I can still feel frustrated. I can allow myself to feel whatever I need to feel about that situation. And I'm holding this intention, and yet I'm saying, okay, I'm having these particular emotions about this. And even as I'm sitting with this, I can still move forward. Moving forward doesn't mean I have to deny how I'm feeling in this moment about this circumstance of being laid off. Because the reality is, I am angry. Some people say I may have, bills and, kids and insurance and car note and bill, and it
Responsibilities,
doesn't stop.
period.
It
Yes.
doesn't stop. It don't care about a layoff or nothing. It's just gonna show up every month. And so I help them to take those emotions and hold them in tension and just acceptance. Because sometimes we don't want to accept it because there's an underlying fear with it. Because if I accept it, then X, Y, and Z. And so just that self acceptance and just accepting the situation, accepting the pain, and giving people, and I love this word, giving people permission to be human. We don't always give people permission to be human.
Okay. All right. I have one question, and we are gonna close it out, right? Okay. So
Okay.
it's giving permission to be human. So is there a recommended grieving time? Like, yeah, I see there's some people who may grieve, like grief is real. I've experienced it on multiple levels and multiple times throughout life, right? Um, so for me, 6 months to a year, by the time we get to the 1 year mark, at that point, it's not nearly as heavy on my heart. Not saying, mind you, that I still won't have moments, but I can get through the day. I'm not going to cry at the drop of a dime at certain triggers anymore at that point out. But I do know people who, it's like 2 years later and they're still talking, like it's at the top of their brain. And if you have a conversation with them, that is really all that they're like. It's like they're stuck there. So I do mention my husband's death, but I mentioned his death because I realized that technically that was the jumping off point for me to become the person that I am today. I have to give God credit that it worked out for my God. Like, God has transformed my way of life. He's transformed my thinking. He's transformed my personality through my husband's death. So, I realized that my husband's death was not in vain, right? So I'm okay to reference it. However, I do know people, they are, 3, 4, 5 years later, and it's like, it's almost as if that loved one, like they lost them 2 weeks ago. And so, I'm kind of curious in the counseling room, how do you guys deal with that? Again, there is the balance of having permission to be human.
Yeah, oh, yes.
But I feel like there seems as if they need permission to grieve, but at the same time, they also need to give themselves permission to live.
Oh, yes, yes. And I believe that you have to be able to do both. And so the key point is, if you don't allow yourself to grieve,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be able to allow yourself to live.
Okay.
And one of the things that heavily factors into grief, there's a lot of things that contribute to how a person grieves. But for instance, you may have a young mother with children. And so at the time of the death, and I'm not saying this of every woman, but she may be so centered on the kids that
Mm-hmm.
she may not allow herself to grieve, because she's like,
Mm-hmm.
the the kids need this. And I'm not saying mothers shouldn't, but I'm saying that sometimes people don't allow themselves to grieve for various reasons.
So they
Or
actually start grieving late.
yeah, some people,
That makes sense.
it it hits them like, wow, but one of the things I'll ask my um clients, I may kind of say, hey, tell me about the death, tell me the nature, because sometimes it just there are certain circumstances that are unique to particular kinds of death. you
Mm-hmm.
know Deaths that are, we say, socially negated, basically deaths that are not acknowledged for one reason or another.
Mm-hmm.
People can really struggle with those.
Oh
That
yeah. Oh yeah.
it's like, for instance, suicide, because most people don't want to say, well, oh, my son or my daughter died by suicide, because it's the thought, maybe, oh, people will think, I'm a bad parent, which is not true. But for
No.
some people, it's like there's a sense of shame attached to that. And they stay there. And so as therapists, I help them work through that. And I say, okay, let's talk to that part of you that feels shame.
Mm-hmm. So thank you. I know, like, we went a little over, but there, the ADD or ADHD comment that you made really kind of grabbed my attention. So thank you for taking the time out to explain that to our audience, and to me as well. So I appreciate it. So Erica, again, one more time, Erica's done. As you can see, she's filled full of wealth, of knowledge in regard to helping women process. Do you work with women and men, Erica?
Yes, I
Okay.
work with adolescents, adults, women, couples. I'm working with a
Okay.
couple right now.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. So she works with a variety of different people where in regard to trauma and grief. And so if you're experiencing or have experienced any type of trauma, grief, and you need help being able to move forward, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you get in touch with Erica. Erica, please let our audience know let them know how to get in touch with you.
Yes, they can send an email to erica.denisemarie@outlook.com. They can also email me at www.thecalmcorner.org@outlook.com.
Okay,
So
so
those
repeat
are
that.
two different contact methods of getting in touch with me.
Okay, I want you to say it one more time, just
Okay,
in case,
I probably said
you
it
know,
fast.
yeah, I want you to say it a couple times because again, it's
Okay.
really, I feel like the service that you provide is needed, right? And so sometimes it's like, when you're driving on the interstate, the billboard's there, you see it, but at the same time, you're going 70 miles per hour, so you're going to
Yeah.
miss that number, So I want to make sure people know how to grab you. So again, you can repeat your contact information.
Okay.
I would appreciate it.
Okay. My contact info, you can email me at erica.denisemarie@outlook.com. And I can also be reached at thecalmcorner.org@outlook.com.
All righty. So if they went straight to your website, so we have your website on the screen now, thecalmcorner.org. On your website, is there a contact tab?
There's a tab where they basically they submit the info and then it'll forward to my
It'll
email.
come to your email. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Very good. Very good. So again, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor and a privilege to have Erica here. Again, she's doing really great things to help provide a service that, definitely in the season of life that the world itself is in, is much needed. Also, if you'd like to get a copy of the journal, she has contributed several different affirmations to the project. And so feel free to go to our website, which is www.uncommoncourage.org/affirm women. One more time, uncommoncourage. I said .org earlier, didn't I? I said
Yes.
that's on my own website. I'm having a moment. Okay, www.uncommoncourage.cc/affirm women. You can go to the website, click on Erica's face, and you'll be directed to a link to be able to purchase it. And I'm sure they can probably go to the calmcorner.org to get a copy of the journal as well, right?
Yes, and then I'm
Yeah.
in the process of. I'm not much of a web person. I'm learning
Okay.
to be techie. I'm learning. I'm getting
I
there.
got you. But feel free again. You guys can just go to uncommoncourage.cc/affirm women to get a copy of the journal. Erica, again, thank you so much for coming and connecting with us today. Definitely, you want to go to thecalmcorner.org. Again, thecalmcorner.org so you can connect with Erica. My name is Tiffany Bell. I want to again say thank you for coming and spending time with us this evening. This is the CEO Corner. You've had the honor and privilege of connecting with Erica. But for now, we will see you again in the future. You all take care. Goodbye.